Let's make some noise. Come on.
That's right, Nick Foles. Let's make some noise. Hey, everybody. What's up? Welcome back to the final word here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network with your boy, MattyB, on the call. It is great to be back for the first show of our broadcast week, new broadcast week, as we get you set for another fun-filled week in the world of Philadelphia sports. So let's get it going here. I'm glad to be here. It's Sunday night, another boring Sunday. Or was it? Was it a boring Sunday? Feels like we haven't had an Eagles game in like a month. But, of course, that is going to be one of our main topics tonight. Eagles getting ready for their return to action finally tomorrow night, Monday night, against the Buccaneers. Or not Buccaneers, Packers. I know it was a name had a bay in it. In frigid Lambeau Field, 29 degrees, 22 degrees, something like that is going to be the temperature by the time that game ends tomorrow night. Jair Alexander, one of the Eagles' new playthings, will not be making the trip to Green Bay. So we're all you Howie people out there tonight. Let's talk about the Eagles trade deadline, him winning the deadline, right? Well, one of them ain't even going out to Green Bay. We'll discuss that as the actual final injury report finally made it out. I mean, not only was it a rough week of not having football on Sunday, but trying to ascertain information about this game really had to wait a long time. So we'll maybe break down some of the final happenings of the injury report for this game on Monday night. And obviously the first game of the rest of the Eagles' lives starts tomorrow, as the second half of the season will officially get underway for the Eagles as they look to make that push to the Super Bowl. So Eagles definitely, Packers on the table. Baseball in the news tonight again. We'll recap what we talked about. What was it, Thursday night? The National League Silver Sluggers. We'll get into the American League Silver Slugger. We'll do a hot stove report and the betting scandal heating up, man. Two players arrested today from the Cleveland Guardians. Emmanuel Clase, one of them, the big story about him, of course, he rings true to a lot of Phillies fans' hearts, as he was one of the trade targets that we were attempting to acquire mid-season. Well, he's going to prison, it looks like, for at least 65 years, as he was arrested in conjunction with a sports betting and money laundering scheme. We'll get into that and maybe the ramifications as this thing is now bled over. Is this the same thing that's going on in the NBA? Is this just or is it another one? Maybe we'll talk a little bit about that. Of course, sports betting, the big thing these days. So we'll definitely talk that. Flyers news. Flyers a up and down weekend, and some of the drama that's starting to swirl around this team about Matty Michkov. Is there trouble in the waters for the young Russian superstar? Is he under fire for a admitted offseason where he didn't touch the ice for 4 months? Have his teammates deserted him? Has his coach deserted him? And here's a hot take for you. Would the Flyers be better off maybe trading Matty Michkov? Is there a work ethic problem? But we'll definitely talk some Flyers, Matty Michkov. Of course, your day of Philadelphia sports history. Your other night segment and your card of the night, all that wrapped into a pretty bow here on this Sunday night, and anything else you guys want to bring to the table, honestly. So we'll talk some of that stuff tonight. Hey, what's going on, Joe Hale? How are you? Ricky says, hey, Matt, go Eagles tomorrow. Absolutely. And Ricky, tomorrow can't come soon enough, right? It feels like it's been like a month since the last time the Eagles played football. And today there was games, some upsets, Dolphins steamrolling over the Buffalo Bills. The Giants snatching defeat out of the jaws of victory as erroneous reports were floating around the internet right after that game that Brian Daboll had been fired. He's not, but is how much more time does he have left as the head coach of the New York Giants? So we can go over some of your day, your action here in the NFL as well if you'd like. Can we open the phone lines? Yeah, we'll open them up a little bit later on. We will open the lines tonight. So let's not waste any more time with all the pomp and circumstance. Let's get the show going. Let's strap it in, strap it on, strap it up. Keep your head, hands, and feet inside the car at all times. And here we go with your day in Philadelphia sports history, brought to you by the It's a Wrap Sports Network and its fine family of programs. And here you are is your week at a glance this week. Tomorrow, finally, Eagles postgame. Eagles-Packers postgame. I will not be on the air tomorrow night as to give you guys an opportunity to watch the game. So you won't be seeing me tomorrow, but you will be seeing Eagle Packer post game. Tuesday, the Happy Valley Huddle, Indiana University edition. Great game on Saturday. I got to tip my cap to Penn State. If it wasn't for maybe the catch of the year, they might have pulled that thing out. But Mike Lauer will be along around 10 o'clock Tuesday morning to break down that game. And then Mike will be back Tuesday night around 8 o'clock to do his props, locks, and parlays. And I do want to cite that the It's a Wrap Sports Network or the lock props and parlay program have nothing to do with what's going on in major sports right now when it comes to the betting scandal. We are a for entertainment only purpose show. So make sure that we delineate that. I will be back tomorrow or Tuesday night on your Veterans Day for some final word. Wednesday, it's the Pittsburgh Sports Desk. I'll be back. And then Flyers, Oilers post-game Thursday, Birds Blast, Gridiron Weekly, final word as well. Friday, we do some clearing the ice with the Blues. Saturday, Penn State, Michigan State, Happy Valley Huddle, and then some post-game Flyers Stars. And on Sunday next week, it is the P&M and the AM Steel City Sunday that was not seen today. There was a last-minute medical situation with one of the hosts, so they could not go on the air, but they'll be back next Sunday for both pre and post game, and we will be back next Sunday for post game Eagles Lions as the Birds fly by. We'll get back going as the Eagles are playing next Sunday night, so we're taking one step closer to getting back on Sunday afternoon next week. So there's your weekend glance for the It's a Wrap Sports Network next week. So let's go with your day in Philadelphia sports history. Let's go all the way back to the ripe year of 2013. And on this day in 2013, with both a Phillies hat and a Blue Jays hat at his side, a one-time Phillies ace, Roy Halladay, announced his retirement from Major League Baseball. He signed a one-year contract on this date with the Toronto Blue Jays, but announced during his press conference farewell that he wished it could have been with both teams. In 11 seasons with the Blue Jays, Doc earned 6 AL All-Star selections and 1 Cy Young Award as the American League Best Pitcher. But in just 4 seasons in Philadelphia, Halladay added 2 All-Star nods, a Cy Young, and 2 of the most dominating pitching performances in team history, his perfect game, and a postseason no-hitter, both in 2010. So Roy Halladay, who gets talked about a lot in some circles as one of the greatest pitchers in Phillies history. And, it's an interesting debate about where he stands in all-time Phillies history. I will definitely give you the fact while he was here in those seasons that we talked about, in 2 or 3 of those 4, probably 2.5. There was probably nobody more dominant than him. I will give you that. But it was towards the tail end of his career. Injuries sort of took him over and kind of ran him down while he was a Philly. So, but his performance while he was here is noteworthy for his place among the Phillies' best in terms of pitching. But in respect to the Steve Carltons, who am I forgetting? Robin Roberts, in respect to those guys, you kind of have to say no for best Phillies of all time. Now, does he deserve some mention of, like, say, top 20 or top 10 of baseball all time? You could probably make a better debate or better argument there, but I'm not prepared to put him on any sort of Phillies all-time list of great pitchers, just based on the fact that he wasn't here long enough and he wasn't dominant here long enough. So, but it definitely, him retiring, obviously, was a shock. And then, of course, what happened a few years later where he was killed in that plane crash, more shocking. So a great career to a great pitcher. And it was part of that all-in mentality that we all loved at that time back in 2010. Ruben pushed all the chips in the middle of the table and came up snake eyes. But, they were going for it. They were going for it. But, and he was part of maybe the greatest rotation, one of the greatest rotations of all time. And the Phillies obviously could not finish the deal there. But Roy Halladay on this day retiring from Major League Baseball in 2013. And there you go. That's your day in Philadelphia sports history. And Joe Hale reminds everybody out there that, he did die way too early. Absolutely. Absolutely. Matt, who is number 11 for the Eagles? What? Isn't it A.J. Brown? Is A.J. Brown 11? Or is it Carson Wentz? I know Carson Wentz used to be 11. I'm pretty sure it's A.J. Brown. Pretty sure. Am I wrong? Have they adjusted some numbers around? Come on, Ricky, what you doing, man? Fact checking me here. I'm going to say AJ Brown, but I guess with Ricky's question, let's a perfect segue into our first topic because we got football back in the house tomorrow night. Eagles will do battle with the Green Bay Packers out in Lambeau Field as their season will finally get resumed. We talked about this last week. You know, the Eagles have played 8 games up to this point, and if all goes to maybe plan, right? And if the Eagles finish this season with the number 1 seed in the conference, that would mean the Eagles would have to play 11 more games from this point on to just reach the Super Bowl. And the question was brought to bear that is this team right now with 11 games, again, using the formula that I am with them finishing first in the conference, is this team a Super Bowl contending team? The Eagles were very notable about going, I'm not going to say all in, but they were very notable, making lots of moves over the trade deadline, 3 external and 1 internal. They brought in 3 players through trades, and they signed one of their former greats. All defensive players, nothing done to the offense at all. So I know, and again, I get it, and I agree with the philosophy around it, that the offense is pretty much what it is, not perfect. Not by no stretch of the imagination, but the defense was the one that was lacking in this sort of decision here to go after these defensive players. Now, Jair Alexander will not make the trip to Green Bay, so that means 3 of your new pieces will. Are they reaches? And of course, the homers, you know, as they do, overreacting to this, not looking at this thing holistically, not looking at this thing through eyes wide open instead of they were looking at it through eyes wide shut. Everything about Laud and Howie Roseman as winning the trade deadline. First of all, the fact that you had to go out and add 3 players, 4 technically, at the trade deadline, does that make you great? Or does that make you some mastermind? Or does that make you trying to sort of backtrack on what you failed to do in the offseason? There's no mention of that. There's very little, there are people out there talking about it, but it's not given its due. No one's really spending much time addressing that Howie's offseason plan was a failure, especially on the defense. And it's unprecedented. No defending Super Bowl champion ever in the history of the NFL has it gone out and add 4 players during the trade deadline. So do you laud Howie Roseman for recognizing his deficiencies from the offseason and, you know, wrap your arms around him as you slobbering homers usually do and, you know, welcome him back to the flock? Or do you get concerned that this could be the start of something not so good because he failed to address? And not only that, is his additions at the trade deadline enough to push his team over the top? Jalen Phillips being the coup de grace, jewel of the centerpiece, whatever, of the trades. And as I mentioned, Jair Alexander not even making the trip. I mean, is this going to be enough to help the defense out? Is this what they were missing? You know, we'll find out starting tomorrow night, of course, as the Eagles will start against the Packers. But I propose this question to you. Offensively speaking, what Cam Jurgens, I think, has also been ruled out for this game, if I'm not mistaken. He is. Cam Jurgens will not play as well. So what happened to the I heard this morning on the PM and the AM program that, you know, Al was saying, God love Al, man. I love Al. I love me some big Al, man. Let me tell you what. But yeah, the 1 week off is going to re-energize the offensive line. Well, Cam Jurgens and Lane Dickerson have both been suffering from nagging injuries for a long time. And I didn't know about how much 1 week off was going to help them. Cam Jurgens, there might be some problems long-term with him for the rest of the season. That's my concern, is how much he's going to make it through the next 11 games at a minimum, right? If they finish number 1 in the conference. Landon Dickerson's also been hampered with some injury problems. The offensive line has not played well consistently all season long. And just so recently against a deflated, demoralized Giant team was the only game they really got the running game going. So offensively, all this attention was paid to the defense about all the upgrades. But offensively, is this team good enough to make a Super Bowl run? Yes, we're going to, of course, The homer radars are going off around the Delaware Valley right now as they're linking up in the internet, trying to, as I'm saying these words, the name Jalen Hurts is flashing. He's the X factor, right? Jalen Hurts is the factor that everyone's got to be concerned about. Is he though? I say this with all respect and dignity. Tell me the times that Jalen has demonstrated throughout his career, his tenure as an Eagle. Tell me the times that he has picked his team up and willed them to victory. And I'm waiting to hear, because everyone keeps telling me about Jalen Hurts being an MVP candidate. And that was another big story this week, is the MVP sort of, candidate list came out, and Jalen Hurts was buried deep on it. But he was on it, I believe, right? I don't even pay attention to it, but I think he was on it. Also, the QB comparison charts came out and all that. I don't pay much attention to that stuff, because that is such, when you're ranking a quarterback's stats, there's so many variables there. System guys versus athletes, systems guys, athletes versus quarterbacks that are on bad teams that are just told to go out there and survive. I mean, there's no real way definitively to judge stats, I think. But listen, honestly, tell me the last time Jalen Hurts has consistently took this team on his back and willed them to victory. I can only come up with one in all his entire time with this team, and that was against Buffalo back in 2023. And I still hold on to the 2023 mentality and sort of how the season was trending for the first few weeks. I still have sort of, that thing going on. But offensively, is this team good enough? And then A.J. Brown constantly is still, fanning the fire of dissension and not wanting to be here. And I'm just wondering, with all the attention paid to the defense, is the offense good enough? And do they have the right people to get them across the finish line? And and we're going to find out against a very beat up Buccaneer team that I, earlier this week with Kyle, basically said, I'm taking the Packers in this game to win, but I would not be surprised at all if the Eagles won this football game. Honestly, I think the Packers are a pretty overhyped group of football players. And I've thought that for a very long time. So I would not be surprised if the Eagles went out there and won tomorrow night. And I also wouldn't be surprised if they went out there and lost. So again, I'm not going to base tomorrow night on the rest of the season either, but win or lose. But as we get ready for the push, because there's no more, trade deadline, there's no more, there's going to be some players that might get cut from here to then now or whatever, but there's nothing else coming here. This is it. The die has been cast. This is your team. Offense, defense, special teams, coaches. These are the guys and gals and people that are going to take you across the finish line in 2025/26. Is this enough to fulfill the destiny of the Philadelphia Eagle dynasty? So we'll start finding that stuff out tomorrow. And it's the Packers, not the Buccaneers. Yeah, I know. I said Packers, didn't I? Yeah, I know it's the Packers. Did I say Buccaneers again? Well, I apologize if I did. It's the Bay, man. It always confuses me. Yeah, I know. Didn't you show it to me last time? Didn't we talk about it last time when you had it? Yeah, it's A.J. Brown. Used to be Carson Wentz. It's the most famous 11, right? Maybe. Is that the question? Who's current 11? It's A.J. Brown. I know that much. But so do the Eagles have enough? But there you go. Phone lines are open. If you want to, you can chime in. Just click the link. It's going to pop up in all the social media feeds that we are broadcasting currently. It'll pop you backstage here. I will put you on air and we'll talk. But make sure you have the ability to speak to me and not I don't need to see you to make this happen, but I do need to be able to speak to you, and you need to be able to speak to me. So you need to be able to communicate with me some way. So chime in when you can or if you want, and let's have some fun. Eagles, Packers, Monday Night Football. Did they do enough? Put all the eggs in the defense basket, and is that enough? I mean, what they brought here, is it enough? Jair Alexander not traveling with the team. Are we going to see Cooper DeJean as the CB2 tomorrow night? Michael Carter starting in the slot. What is Jalen Phillips? What's his role? Now, Nolan Smith, I do not think Nolan's going to be part of this game. I do not. He was a full participant yesterday. I don't know if he is. He's listed as questionable. I'm not really sure if Nolan Smith is going to play. Anybody have any insight about that? But if Nolan Smith does play, where do they put him? Isn't Nolan Smith and Jalen Phillips both left side rushers? So what do we do with that? Anything you want to talk about, Eagles, Packers related, or anything else sports related, let me know. Oh, Joe.
Hey, your name got brought up by PM and AM.
My name got brought up by PM and the AM. How? In what way?
Big Al called you a homer. It was talking alternate jerseys. And I brought up the Sixers black jersey.
Uh-huh.
And that's how it got brought up. But that's how I wanted to begin.
So what was the context? What was the context of alternate jerseys? I don't understand why my name was invoked.
I was the throwback of the alternate jersey because the Sixers are wearing their black throwbacks again.
Oh, the black ones, the Iverson era.
Erickson era. Yeah. That's how that got brought up.
Okay, well, I hope they didn't besmirch me too much. I hope they respected the boss.
They did. You said,
so what's on your mind, Joe? What do you want to talk about?
You said Nolan Smith. He can also play the left end. In college,
I know, but
he played right side.
Right, but he's been on the left side from his time with the Eagles. So they're going to obviously he's the one switching to the right. I would imagine. Okay.
Yeah,
how that works.
Right defensive end.
Okay. Well, we'll see how that works. As I said, that might be nitpicking a little bit about what side someone's going to rush from. It might be, but we'll see. It's going to be interesting to see how they incorporate both Jalen Phillips and Nolan Smith and the rest of this defense going forward.
I noticed watching football today, everybody's beatable in NFL today.
Yeah, you got that right, man.
Dolphins. Look at the Dolphins laying up on the Bills.
Yeah. Yeah, it is definitely a season of parity, man. I agree. It's this week. If you're not, familiar with, just go back and watch some of the highlights of these games. I mean, it's almost a week-to-week league, which I don't know how that bodes well because a lot of people will look at that week-to-week league type thing, a lot of parity, and by saying that the Eagles are the best out of all that. Now, I'm not sitting here. I'm not going to argue the fact that they're a very good team. I'm also not going to argue the fact that there are probably going to absolutely, if they're not there at the end of this, if they're not standing as Final Four or Final Six, then there's probably some questions that need to be answered. So, but the question though is, as we've gotten to this point, Joe, and I'm going to ask this to you straight up, we've gotten to this point, week 10, right? Almost week 10 being over with. We don't use preseason the way it's designed, so you take the first 4 weeks of the season to sort of work out your problems. Then teams sort of kind of start finding their identity in the month of October. Then you're dealing with injuries. Then you got the trade deadline. Now you get into this point of the season. It feels like the season is gone, but it's not when you look at it. I mean, it looks gone because we're in the double-digit weeks, but we have such a lot of football left to go. And a lot more of the team's identities will continue to sort of develop. But I'm concerned that the Eagles' identity is what it is now, and it's not going to develop any further because I just don't feel they're deep enough in certain positions, especially on defense. And that's what concerns me because, yes, parity week to week, but still, even though the Rams smoked the Niners, both those two teams are strong. Even though Buffalo got smoked, Buffalo's strong. Detroit put a whooping on the Commanders today. They're what they are. Green Bay, even though they lost to the Panthers, and I definitely could see them losing to the Eagles tomorrow. They're a strong type team. What's that?
Here's what hurt the Packers. When they played the Cowboys, the Packers got exposed. They couldn't stop the run.
Yeah.
They couldn't stop the run. Look at throwing window. Over 100 yards.
Yeah. No, you're right. But listen, so basically what I just said, with all those teams I mentioned, with still football, a meat of the schedule still left, teams are still developing. Do you see the Eagles as still a favorite, 6-7 weeks from now as they are right now? We saw the first 8 weeks of the season. It was a struggle for the Eagles. Even though they were 6-2, it was a struggle to get to 6-2. And we started feeling a little bit better about this team after the Giants game, but are we going to forget about the first 7 weeks? It was a struggle. And I just want to know is how much more developing can this team do, and can they keep pace with the other teams?
Yes, they can. They can keep pace. Everybody's beatable. But I think the Eagles turn it around. Look what happened after the bye week last year. They want to roll. They want to run.
They did, but why? Why? Joe, tell me why they went on a run last year after the bye.
They changed up the play calling and ran into Barkley more.
And what else?
Maybe that's what they are. But
what else? No, what else? Yes. The play calling and the running, yes. But what was the other thing?
Small passes, no deep balls.
Yes, but there was something happening on the defense that was extremely crucial for their Super Bowl run last year.
The picks, the interception.
The turnovers. The Eagles started to force turnover. I mean, they're averaging, I think, at one point, 4 a game. And right now they're averaging less than 1. So you're right. There is some time, but also the bye week last week was week 4. Okay. And this year is week 9. So there's a little less time there. I hear what you're saying. And again, the story's not over. This ain't done. And we got to play it out week to week.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
What else is on your mind, Joe?
Phillies.
JT
Realmuto was you know who Todd Slasky is, right?
Yeah.
Phillies.
Writes for the MLB.
He was asked about JT's future with the Phillies. And he put it this year. He put it like this. He would a 2-year contract for JT. Takes less money on a back return deal. Less money now, and then furloughs the contract near the end of the year. I like that move.
No, as I said, I am in favor of bringing JT back only because there's just no other option that makes any sense to the Phillies. They're not going to be able to get any one of these younger catchers for anything that's going to break the bank. They got no other choice but to find a way to make JT work. And I think it could work for JT because he knows he's coming to the end of his career, and he knows he's got a really good shot with the Phillies to win a World Series.
You said catchers. Now, you're going to find one. There's a rumored Kansas City Royals rumor that they want to give up the top catching prospect for Castellanos. MLB's reporting it. Do you do it?
Wait, so Kansas City wants to give up their top catching prospect for Nick Castellanos?
Yes.
Who the hell's running the ship in Kansas City? Yeah, of course I do it. But there's no way in hell that's got to be true. There's no way.
No, it's true. They have 3 top catching prospects on a pipeline.
If that's feasible and if that's real, yes, of course I do it. Absolutely.
But you would also have to ship out more people than Castellanos. What's the deal?
Well, I've always said, I think you get more. I think you can, if you package a deal involving Castellanos, Bohm, and Stott, that would make sense to some team. I think some team would make that. I think you'd have a taker or two on that. I do.
I don't think you send Stott. You keep him. You trade him next year, Stott.
Well, you might get more for him now because he's got the extra year of control. You know what I'm saying? He's under control for 26 and 27. So it might be a little bit more of an attractive deal. throw Stott in there. He'd be actually the centerpiece of a trade because the other two, Bohm's going to be a free agent at the end of 26, and so will Castellanos. So Stott would be the centerpiece, so to speak. It would be a team that's looking for a young second baseman that they could maybe continue to bring along. It would make more sense for another team to take him now because of that extra year. But listen, if the Kansas City Royals are considering taking Nick Castellanos and another player, I guess we got to depend on who that other player is. And I don't think it's going to be Alec Bohm for their top catching prospect. Then I'd definitely be listening. And I'm getting impatient, man. I want to see some moves made. It's only been for 5 days in the free agency, man. Nothing's happening.
I think it's going to happen right at the winter meetings with the Phillies.
Well, they'll make a trade. That's when they're going to make a trade. They got to start signing players now. They can start signing players now. And as we go through our hot stove report, some players have moved addresses already. Nothing major, but I want to see a signing, man.
I did watch Winter Ball.
Arizona Fall Ball?
Yes.
What'd you think?
The prospect for the Phillies, I love it. He had his first inside the park home run.
What, Dylan Campbell?
No, the other one. Dante Norva.
Oh, Dante, did he really? I didn't. When was this? When did this happen?
Friday.
Oh, see? Look at that. Yeah, Philly's got 8 players out there. Yep. Good stuff for him. Congratulations, Dante. Was it?
The break is coming up for them. The home run derby thing is going to be shown on MLB Network. Oh, and I found out where the AAA All-Star game is this year, by the way.
Is it going to be at the bank?
No. Lehigh Valley.
Coca-Cola Park.
Iron Pigs.
Yeah.
Yes, my buddy works there, and
it's a good venue.
It's not that, and he said tickets are going to be reasonable.
Yeah, they will be. It's a
and
listen,
the USA versus the road one. Go ahead.
USA versus who?
The road. That's the AA. Will be at the bank.
Okay. All right. Look at that. Joe Hale reporting on the happenings.
Yes.
Joe Hale all over this. All right, Joe. Listen, man. Well, thanks for coming in. Remember, no final word tomorrow night because of Eagles post game, but I'll be back Tuesday. All right.
Yep.
All right, Joe Hale. Listen, let's look at this. Let me see. I don't even know offhand who Kansas City's catching prospects are. Oh, man. Okay, so Carter Jensen is their top prospect in their system. He's a yeah, I know who this kid is. He's 22 years old, was drafted in third round in 2021. Currently in AAA. He's actually expected to make, or actually, did he play this year? I don't know. Then you got Blake Mitchell, who's their number 2 prospect at catcher. So the first 2 prospects in the Royals system, as ranked by MLB, are catchers. Now, Blake Mitchell is the number 2 prospect overall. This is weird. I've never seen this before. The top 2 prospects in the Kansas City Royals system are catchers. The one is Major League Baseball ETA this year, or I need to look. I think he played this year. Now, Blake Mitchell played in high A last year, so he's still got a couple years to go. So I'm not interested for him. I'm not, because we got a kid down in the FCL who's kind of working his way up. I need someone to help me out today, and that's not going to be Blake Mitchell. So it's got to be Joe's must be referring to Carter Jensen as the trade. But here's the thing. Again, if somebody out there honestly wants to take Nick Castellanos off our hands for their top prospect in their system, yeah, Can we make the deal tonight? I mean, I wouldn't even have to really second guess it, regardless of whether or not Carter Jensen's going to be anything. But I would imagine it's going to require a little bit more than just Nick Castellanos to get their number one overall prospect, not their number one catching prospect, which he is, but he's also their number one overall prospect out of their system. So if the Phillies can get creative, and I don't disagree with the fact that they might not get creative. I think they do. I think there's a good trade coming down the pipe. I think the Phillies will get aggressive in trading. Of course, we've talked about my wish list of who I want on this team, and I don't think it's too hard of a get. All my wish list players are definitely gettable. They're all free agents. You know, I don't even have trades worked into my scenario. I mean, I didn't even want to do that. I didn't want to go out on a limb, because you can come up with crazy trade scenarios all day long and make them fit your narrative. So I was just going through, free agency. But in order to get off of, because don't forget, in order to get rid of some of the players that I want to get rid of, Castellanos and Bohm being two of them, you're not going to cut them unless you have to, but you're going to try to trade them. So the Phillies are going to pick up some assets either, in that aspect. And as far as Bryson Stott goes, with Luis Arraez being a free agent, and I know he's going to be a hot name, especially with second base. As a matter of fact, he's one of the top listed right now as like the top 10 free agents, hottest names in free agency. He's one of them, top 10. I get it. It's going to be a little bit of a get. I understand that. I told you my list was sort of an extreme wish list. There wasn't much reality pay to it, but you're going to have to move off of Bryson Stott. And I always do this when it comes to this stuff, because Alec Bohm is under contract or under team control through 2026. So he'll be arbitration eligible. He'll get whatever he gets. And then he'll hit the open market. The question to me, when it always comes to these types of players, about when you should move these younger players, and do we even consider Alec Bohm a younger player? Do you even consider Bryson Stott a younger player anymore? I think my number one question is, do they fit in long term? Right? Could you see the Phillies signing Alec Bohm to a 7-year deal or a 5-year deal, locking him up, that way? Can you see the Phillies signing Bryson Stott to a 5 or 7-year contract after the 2027 season? And if you kind of hesitate, like, I don't know, then maybe that's not the guy we need, that we need to pursue. And especially in this window of winning, you have an opportunity to potentially upgrade. I would be okay. I'd be 100% fine with the fact that Bryson Stott gets traded. I wouldn't bat an eyelash about it. Same thing with Bohm and Castellanos. And honestly, if they moved Harper, which this Harper Dombrowski thing, I about had it. And this soft ass world we live in anyway. Listen, dude, you weren't elite, man. And I applaud Dave Dombrowski for calling you out on it, man, because you weren't. You're getting paid elite money, and you didn't do an elite performance. You didn't. You should be called out. And the fan base that's up in arms about Dombrowski and how can you do that to your number one player? Because the number one player didn't perform. That's how. And Bryce Harper should have said, listen, he's right. I didn't. I deserve the criticism. I deserve the backlash. I did not give you $330 million, or I guess what is it, like 13 million? I guess once you break it all down, I didn't give you $13 million worth of work this year. I only gave you maybe 4. So yeah, I applaud Dave Dombrowski for that 100%. And there needs to be more of that accountability from team ownership to these players. Bryce Harper hasn't proved anything since he's been here. We don't have any more World Series championships. We don't have any more World Series championships now than we did before he got here. So I don't know what stones Bryce Harper has to come out and say, he hurt my feelings. And first of all, why would you say he hurt your feelings? Say something more manly, or just say he's right. I did not give you an elite performance, and I should, And I'm ashamed of that. And I'm sorry. Will you forgive me? I would respect him more if he did that. Joining me now is my main man, Ricky Deal. Ricky, at number 11 is A.J. Brown. Why are you asking me about A.J. Brown? What you got there, Ricky? Oh, look at that. I like that, man. A little Kelly Green. What is that? Like a little thermos, little cup, a little Stanley type action going on there? What's on your mind tonight, Ricky?
Let's go Eagles.
Let's go Eagles, indeed. Ricky Deal, and Ricky has given the Eagles his seal of approval. Ricky, tomorrow night, Eagles finally back in action. Did they do enough at the trade deadline, Ricky Deal? Did they do enough? Are the Eagles primed for another Super Bowl run?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Ricky Deal's going to say yes. I don't expect anything less of you, Ricky. Listen, Ricky, I don't know, man. Time will tell. All I know is that the first 8 weeks were not the best. And we'll see how they do the next 11. But, me and Joe just spent a long time talking about the parity around the NFL. Anybody can beat anybody, and I definitely think that's good. Or not that I think it's good. I definitely think that exists. So, Ricky, what do you think, man? You beat the Packers tomorrow, and then next Sunday is the real test. You got the Lions at home. If you had to choose one, Ricky, you had to choose one team to lose to over the next 2 weeks, would it be the Packers or the Lions? Ricky, you there? All right, Ricky's having some technical problems, but the question is out to everybody. If you had to choose one of these 2 weeks to lose, either the Packers or the Lions, what game would you choose? What game would you choose? You have to lose one of them. There's no getting around that. How would you be better? How would you feel better, I guess, about losing to the Packers or the Lions? I say the Packers. I honestly think, all the pomp and circumstance aside, that it's the Lions is your biggest test in this division or in this conference. And of course, as you move down the line here, you're going to need to stack up as many tiebreakers as you can. And beating the Lions head-to-head would definitely go a long way in securing that number 1 seed. So I would most definitely prefer, if I had to, lose to one of them, lose to the Packers. So Ricky Deal, I lost to Ricky. We were having some audio problems, but you know the drill, Ricky. Call back in tomorrow or on Tuesday, any time you want. So I apologize for that, Ricky, but I could not hear you. So the phone lines are open, folks. Chargers and Steelers is a boring game. Yeah, I thought it would be. Phone lines are open, so please feel free to come on in. Again, I don't have to talk. I don't have to see you, but I have to be able to talk to you in order for you to communicate with me intelligently, mind you. I don't know if I got to tell people that, but intelligently. Conversation on the table is the Eagles-Packers. Did they do enough? Parity in the NFL, as Joe Hale brought up. Are the Eagles in the best position they can possibly be for a Super Bowl run? And, is it a legitimate run? Which, I agree that the Eagles are one of the top tier teams in the NFL. Are they good enough to repeat is the question tonight. And we're going to transition and change our gears a little bit to baseball right now. But before I do, let's remind everybody that this segment coming up is brought to you by the Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn. 94 WIP is Kyle Quinn, the quintessential and Eagle pregame show entertainment right here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network. Join me and Kyle every Thursday at around 7. I ain't going to say at 7 because I don't even think we've actually done one 7 o'clock show. I may just adjust the time next year. More permanent, but around 7 p.m. every Thursday, as me and Kyle will look back at the game that was and look ahead at the game that will be. So that is the Birds Blast with 94 WIP's Kyle Quinn every Thursday at or around about 7. So make sure you're here. But let's move into our next segment, which of course is baseball. Emmanuel Clase. Let's get. I saw some weirdness about this whole thing. Somebody was actually projecting how many years they might go to prison. Let's pull that up. But Emmanuel Clase and where was it at, man? Emmanuel Clase and Luis Ortiz have been indicted by prosecutors in Brooklyn on a host of charges related to a scheme to rig bets on pitches thrown in MLB games. If convicted, they could do maximum of 65 years in prison. And there was a later tweet that came out that featured Clase pitching in a game this season against the Phillies, pitching against Max Kepler, that allegedly, and I don't know where they're pulling this information from, and I put it up on the Twitter, so go ahead and check it out. But they say that pitch was one of the pitches that they were looking at as sort of the basis of their investigation in rigging pitches. So, I mean, it's almost like, I don't know how to comment on this. Okay, yeah, I do. I can comment it on this way. If you're going to do things like this, and if you're found out to be breaking the rules, and I don't think it's everybody, and I certainly don't think they're done making arrests, and I certainly think it's a deeper web. We got the thing going on in the NBA. Now we got the MLB. I mean, are they related? Are they two separate incidences? Are they one big, is it one big mass conspiracy? Is the NHL next? Is MattyB Mitchkoff mixed up in this? Because that would explain a lot about his play, I'm just speculating and I'm joking. But if you're caught breaking the rules, man, then you should be held accountable. And I'm not saying get rid of gambling. I'm not, because you can't. And there's just no way. The way sports gambling is these days, it's never going to go away. And I know there's going to be these moral majority people that are going to pop out of the woodwork and say, well, X, Y, and Z, we should do this. No, there's nothing you can do. All you can do is you can either, maybe these leagues need to form their own internal investigative group, like an IA, internal affairs squad, that goes out and digs into this type of stuff, in order to sort of head some of these things off before they get out of control. But there's no way you can stop it. Boys will be boys, and they're going to do it. Now, I can sit here and wag my finger at them and say, you naughty boys, you shouldn't. But they're grown men. They're grown men that have tainted the game, allegedly. Of course, they have not been found guilty or what have you. But in order the repercussions of all this, there's nothing. I don't think there's nothing that they're going to do. And that's the other thing. There's nothing that's going to come from this. And again, everyone's going to say how disappointed they are, and we don't condone this, and this, violates the ethics of the game. And that's all correct statements. But will the powers that be end relationships with sports betting? No, of course not. There's way too much money involved. And sometimes you just can't help yourself. You have a sickness. You're addicted to money. I mean, I saw something earlier that Emmanuel Clase, by the end of his career, would have earned $38 million or something like that. I mean, if that's not enough to live off of for the rest of your life, you needed more. Wow. So one of us, either me or Emmanuel Clase, really negotiated the wrong deal, because I'm scraping by with like $80,000 a year. I'm scraping by with that, let alone 38 million over the next 6 years. So, if you break the rules, then you should be held accountable. But punishing everybody for the actions of a few, no, I've never supported that, no matter what it is. And to sit here and if any one of these, high figures in any of these games, any of these sports, comes up and says, "Oh, you know, I'm extremely disappointed, and this is terrible," and blah 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 blah. Shut up, because you're not going to end relationships with sports betting. You're not. There's just way too much money involved. Just be honest. Hey, they cheated, they got caught, now they pay for it. I'm not going to sit here and bore you with, a moral friggin' virtuoso about how we should not do stuff like this. We know we should. And please, and that's what I hope comes out of this. The only thing that comes out of this, don't talk down to us like you're so above all this. So, but as from a Phillies fan standpoint, there was some serious talk. Now, again, this was from the fans. I don't know if anything was really true from the organization, but there was a time when Emmanuel Clase was a hot name that Phillies fans were talking about attempting to acquire from the Cleveland Guardians at the trade deadline. And I always sort of talked down that because, one, I didn't think Cleveland was going to be sellers, and they weren't. And two, I don't know what would have taken to get a pitcher like him, but thank God it didn't happen. Jesus Christ, man. It's the last thing we would need. Coming off of the Jose Alvarado PED thing, then we just traded for a guy that's caught up with the mob in illegal sports betting or points shaving, I guess. I guess this is what points shaving has sort of, evolved into, but at the baseball level. Thank God we didn't acquire him. And when I saw that today, I chuckled to myself. There was a lot of people that were like, so on the Emmanuel Clase thing. Oh, he's going to be traded to the Phillies. Well, I never agreed. I never believed that because, one, I didn't think the Guardians were going to be sellers, and they weren't. They were too close in the race for the wild card at the time. So, but thank God that didn't happen, man. Jeez. So LeBron James was kind of involved. Why is he not in trouble? Well, and why isn't Shohei Ohtani allegedly in trouble? I don't know. There's a massive investigation going on, Joe. Obviously, listen, I've been inside of a pro locker room before. Michael Jordan gambled. Michael Jordan gambled, but whether or not he gambled on his own team, which I don't think he did, we don't know the depths of any of this stuff, right? And it's not over with, right? It's not over with, but yeah, pretty messed up, man. I wonder what Pete Rose is thinking. God rest his soul. Man, they tarred and feather Rose. Rose didn't go to prison for what he did, allegedly. So, I don't know. Seems to kind of blow up the whole sports betting thing as it pertains to Pete Rose, doesn't it? These days, with all this stuff that's going on right now in the NBA and now MLB. But the only thing I don't want to hear from this is how disappointed baseball is. Now, give me that nonsense, man. Just tell us what you feel. They cheated. They got caught. We're gonna continue to investigate. We're gonna continue to find out if anybody else is doing it. But don't bore me with how they violated this, violated that. You guys are in bed with the sports bettors, for billions of dollars. I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear your pious, sanctimonious crap when it comes to sports betting. I don't. I don't. And I think it's. I'm not against it, but people are gonna push the envelope, man. They're human beings, so it is what it is. Nothing earth-shattering to me. Human nature is to do this type of stuff. So we'll wait and see as this thing continues to evolve. Now it has spilled over to MLB, sports betting, and now pitch rigging, as Emmanuel Clase and Luis Ortiz, both of the Cleveland Guardians, arrested. Now, what does this also mean for the Cleveland Guardians? That's two major pieces of their pitching. I think both of them are bullpen pieces, if I'm mistaken. What does that do to them? These guys can't come back while they're under indictment, right? You would think that they got to be not able to play until their day in court. So what does this mean for the Guardians? That's huge, man. And good Lord, maybe they should have traded him. Maybe they should have traded him. Thank God they didn't trade him to the Phillies. Jeez. It's the last thing I would need. But Emmanuel Clase and Luis Ortiz, the latest victims of an FBI major sports betting sting that has now bled into MLB. So God be with you, gentlemen. And, keep your head up. Keep your head up. You cheated. You got caught. Now it's time to take your medicine. Let the wheels of justice work in your favor. You got millions of dollars. Buy the best defense attorneys. But 65 years is what they're looking at if convicted on all counts. So we'll wait and see as this story sort of evolves. With baseball being said, let's get into let's do some hot stove tonight. We do have some updates. We're going to also talk the awards, 2025 MLB awards, as the AL handed out their Silver Sluggers on Friday. We went over the NL Silver Sluggers on Thursday. So let's get into our sort of off-season baseball stuff with our It's a Wrap Sports Final Word Hot Stove Report. All right, let's get into it. This is news as of November 6th. So we're going to go over some of the activities that were from November 6th onward. So Alex Vesia, the right-hand pitcher from the Los Angeles Dodgers, had his club option exercised by the Dodgers. So he'll be returning to the two-time World Series champions. He was got to know him a little bit in the postseason, played a pivotal role for the Dodgers as their run to the back-to-back World Series, but he'll be back in Dodger blue. Laudy Traveras, the outfielder from Seattle, is now in Baltimore. He signed a one-year deal with the Orioles, batted .205 with 3 homers and 17 RBIs. Nothing to get overly concerned about if you're a Mariner fan, and nothing to get overly excited about if you're an Oriole fan. Michael Seni, the outfielder from the St. Louis Cardinals, was claimed off waivers by the Braves. So he'll be joining Atlanta. Revere Samaritan, the right-hand pitcher from the Reds, was claimed off of waivers was waived by the Reds and claimed by the 49ers, the Giants. Roddy Munoz, the right-hand pitcher for the Cardinals, is now a Red, claimed off of waivers by Cincinnati's. Max Muncy, there's a name. I was sort of looking at him if this didn't happen, which the Dodgers have exercised his club option, so he'll be back in Los Angeles next year. But if he wasn't, batted .243 with 19 homers and 67 RBIs. Now, these numbers are pretty similar to what I think Alec Boehm gives you. I mean, he gives you more power than Boehm, but the average is around the same. So I would, and the age differences are completely off kilter, and the money is too. But I glanced at Max Muncy as a possible replacement for Boehm at third base, but I wasn't really seriously consider it. And the Dodgers won't let that happen anyway, as they have exercised his club option. Brandon Lowe from the Rays has also has his club option exercised by the Rays. So he's going back to Tampa. Batted .256 with 31 homers and 83 RBIs for the Rays last year. Ryan Lotus from the Washington Nationals is now a Mariner, as the Mariners claimed him off waivers. Jack Little from the Pirates is now a Tiger. The right-hand pitcher was claimed off of waivers by the Tigers. Pedro Leon was claimed off waivers from the Orioles as the Astros waived him, so he's going to Baltimore. Cody Lawlerson, right-hand pitcher from Minnesota, the Twins, is now an Angel as he was claimed off of waivers. Jake Freely, the outfielder from the Braves, is now a Ray, and off of waivers by Tampa. Justin Dean from the Dodgers is now a Giant as he was claimed from off waivers. And Jose Castillo, the Baltimore Oriole right-hand pitcher, is now Met as the Mets are starting to sort of throw some players against the wall here. He was claimed off waivers by the Mets. Zach Brinsky from the Washington Nationals is now a Marlin, as he was claimed off of waivers. Jinham Bay, the utility player who played for the Pirates, is also a Met, as he was claimed off of waivers from the Pirates by the Mets. And Garrett Acton, the right-hand pitcher from the Rays, is now a Rocky, as he was claimed off of waivers. So there you have it. The latest and greatest. I wouldn't really call this a hot stove. It's more like a lukewarm stove, as some players really are. We're getting some signings, nothing major, like a couple. And mainly, we're still in the club option, player option phase of free agency. But we're going to stay on top of it all hot stove season long. And hopefully we can start talking about some Phillies here soon. Your top tier free agents as per MLB. Kyle Tucker right now is your number one, your biggest name. Alex Bregman at 2. Schwarber comes in at 3. Bo Bichette at 4. Cody Bellinger, Pete Alonso, Dylan Cease, Michael King, Ranger Suarez, Edwin Diaz, Framber Valdez, Eugene Suarez, Josh Naylor, Trent Grissom, and coming up as your 10th, number 10 or number 9, 10? I don't know, 12, whatever he is. Luis Arraez, who's listed here as a first baseman, but he can play second. And that's where I would have him playing if he was a Philly. And there's your top tier free agents as per MLB as we get into this phase of the season. So hope you enjoyed that. Oh, and by the way, some sad news around sports this weekend. Mel Bridgman, former Flyers first ever. So the Flyers have an interesting situation, right? Did you know in the history of the franchise since 1967, they have never, ever, 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 ever earned the first overall pick in the NHL draft? They've never had it, ever. The closest they got was the year they drafted Mel Bridgman, number 1 overall, and they got that via a trade. They traded into that spot. They didn't actually have the pick. They had to trade into it, and they took Mel Bridgman with the pick. But the franchise has never earned number 1 overall. That's absolutely astonishing. And I don't know if that's bad luck, good hockey, a combination of both. But, there's a reason why every draft lottery during this time of futility where they've been stinking, every year we go in the draft lottery and I have extreme low expectations for this team to ever get the number 1 overall pick because they've literally never had it in the entire history of the franchise. That's astonishing to me. But Mel Bridgman passed away over the weekend. Mel was the number 1 overall pick taken by the Flyers. Really was a decent player as they were sort of transitioning out of the Broad Street Bully years into what would become the mid-'80s with Prop and Kerr and Poulin and Zezel and Tocchet and Eklund and all those guys. He didn't really stick around long enough to be part of that group as he was traded and spent the majority of his career playing for both the Colorado Rockies and then they would become the Devils. So he was mainly a Devil throughout his career, and I think he's best known for his time as a Devil. But a very solid player, and he passed away over the weekend. So, deepest condolences to the Bridgman family, as well as former NFL Commissioner Paul Tagliabue died over the weekend, or today, I think. Big time loss for the NFL, and he did a lot of work for the NFL. Man, he sort of was the first commissioner to grow the game internationally, really grow the game with TV. Just did a lot of work to sort of push the NFL into position to what it became today. So a sad weekend in the world of sports. Sixers lost the game. Yeah, who cares? We'll talk Sixers, Ricky, if you want. I can intelligently talk Sixers, but does anybody really think this team's going to do anything? Former NFL commissioner. Yep, Paul Tagliabue passed away. So I like to look at my life as, commissioner. So I was born into the Pete Rozelle years, and then you had Tagliabue, and then now it's, who was this guy? Goodell. Was there somebody in between Tagliabue and Goodell? No. Goodell's been the guy, right? So I've been around for 3 NFL commissioners, and 2 of them are dead. Great. All right. So we did that. I guess we could talk some Flyers. Yeah, let's get into some Flyers. So we had a win on Thursday. We had and we had an overtime loss on Saturday against the Senators. The big news coming out, I think, that's actually started floating out this weekend has been Matty Michkov, and there's no surprise. It's not been a great second year or start to a second year for him, and there's been some shade, so to speak, as the youngins like to say, thrown at his direction by his teammates and also by the head coach. Now, apparently, one player that's staying in his corner is the captain, Sean Couturier. But the report is, and it's confirmed, this is not alleged. This did happen. Michkov did not step on ice until training camp. I think when he left the final game of the year in April, I don't think he got back on the ice until training camp. He took like a 4-month absence from skating. And that has been, lack of a better word, evident in his play through the first 15 games of the season. It's been a struggle for him. He's been outskated. He's been outworked, and deservedly so has lost minutes from this. Deservedly so has fallen off the number 1 power play unit. Deservedly so. You can't do this. Michkov, I mean, again, I'm not going to speculate to why he decided not to skate. I'm not going to get into that. I don't know. But, he's brand new from Russia, acclimating to the West, acclimating to America. I don't know if he was going down the road of Joel Embiid with eating McDonald's and, drinking Shirley Temples every day. I don't know about any of that, but, he's only 20. He's only 19, whatever he is. Young kid. Probably lacked some adult supervision about, hey, man, this ain't the KHL. This is a fleeting level of hockey. You're not guaranteed to stay here in the NHL. Now, did the Flyers let him down? Who was sort of tracking his progress in the offseason from the Flyers? And why didn't they make sure he was doing something? I know these guys are mandated by contract, by the CBA. There's a period of time where they can't really be touched and told what to do. They leave every spring with a plan given to them by the team of what they expect in terms of what shape they're going to be in when they get back. But you're not out there, sort of watching them do it because you can't by contract. But, where was his teammates? Where was the people in his corner when he was not allegedly skating all offseason? And now here we are, 15 games. He's not Wayne Gretzky. He's not Sidney Crosby. He's not Ovechkin. He hasn't earned and I don't think any of those guys ever took 4 months off from skating. He hasn't earned anything at this level. And his play has shown, he had a fantastically beautiful goal the other day or yesterday where it was all Michkov. But deservedly so, he's lost some time and he's lost responsibility from this hockey team, from his head coach for poor play. And I like I said earlier with Dave Dombrowski and Bryce Harper, I applaud Rick Tocchet for that. I applaud him. I don't know what you think Michkov is. He's a young player who needs to be developed. He has not earned anything. Is he the best chance we got right now to win? Well, right now, no. The future, maybe. But if he doesn't do what he's supposed to do, if he doesn't take his job seriously as a pro, and this is what John Tortorella, and I think this was part of what John Tortorella did with this team that goes completely unnoticed, is that there's more than just teaching them how to play NHL hockey. It's how to be a pro. And I thought John Tortorella was amazing at that. And he took a lot of heat for the way he went about that. But I think that was an amazing process. And I think a lot of people forget that it's not just the game they got to learn. It's about how to be a pro. And Michkov, if that is true and he took all that time off and did not do what he was supposed to do to get ready for the season, then he deserves to be held accountable. And I'm glad he's lost time. And the only way to lose, it's a two-way street, though. He loses the time, he fixes the deficiency, and he gets the time back. So instead of whining about it, Flyers Nation, and I hear a lot of fans saying you're going to alienate your only true star player, which who cares? Do you really want a guy like that? Do you honestly think a player with that attitude is going to last long at this level? He's not. He's going to get rolled over. So the young man needs to pick himself up, dust himself off, and do the right thing. Do what he's supposed to do. Prepare like he was supposed to do. And now, unfortunately, it's too late now. Now he's got to do it in flight, but he still can. And I think he went a long way in returning yesterday. A lot more work needs to be done. And it's unfortunate that we're talking about this in November when he failed to do it back in May, June, and July and August. So, and then now, and I saw this and I wanted to entertain this, is it far out of the realm of possibility that this is a sign of a deeper problem with Michkov? Is this a diva sort of situation with Michkov? Is this something that the Flyers, and I'm not saying with this specifically, but is this the start of behavior that the Flyers are going to have to deal with on the regular basis with Michkov? And if that's the case, if you recognize it, should you go about, do your homework, recognize that, and then potentially look to move him now so that you're not stuck with him later? And I think that's a very interesting point. And obviously, this regime has demonstrated that they are well capable of taking big swings with their prospects and sending them out of here, i.e. Cutter Gauthier. And would the Flyers be better off if this is a sign of his kind of character, not necessarily just a one-and-done mistake, but if this is a sign of his character that, potentially moving him along right now when you could probably get the most for him would not be the best thing for this team to do? And I think it's an interesting point to talk about, because there were grumblings and rumblings back in the day, and I don't know if you guys were aware of this. I was, because I was following him when he was in out there in Russia. He was watching games that, the beautiful part about the KHL and the MHL is their games are on like 9, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning here. It's like of the time difference. So you can actually watch those games if you go on the deep dark web. And I know a lot of people go on the deep dark web to try to take over the world. I do it to go try to watch the KHL. But I was able to find somewhere to go watch hockey around the world. Actually, I have a way to watch every hockey game on the planet right now. But when Michkov was playing out there, I watched a lot of his games. Now, of course, it was all in Russian. I didn't understand the commentators. Didn't need to. I could see. But some of the reports coming out where, Michkov was having tenuous relationships with his coaches. He was benched repeatedly for conduct detrimental to the team. Then he missed a stretch of time for pneumonia during his final season out in Russia. But this is not necessarily something that, and again, I hope I'm wrong, but is this the start of something? Is this the start of his true character coming out? And if it is, should the Flyers do their investigative reporting and investigations, and if necessary, consider moving him before this becomes really something you're stuck with? So very interesting news floating out of South Philly this weekend. And there seems to be a rift between him and some teammates. There already seems to be a rift between him and Tocchet. And again, is this something that the Flyers should pay attention to? As I said, there's a history of this. He was the same way. He had incidences in Russia with his former team, was benched multiple times during his final season in Russia for conduct detrimental to the team. What that conduct was, I didn't get that deep into it. They don't usually release that the specifics, and I sure as hell, even if I could find it, it's probably written in Russian. I can't read that, so I wouldn't know. But I remember talking about that, and I remember the Flyers beat reporters talking about that a little bit prior to him coming over about his character issues. It wasn't a big thing at that time, but it was a thing. And now here we are, start of his second year in the NHL, and allegedly did not do anything. And again, I'm not going to say, I'm not going to speculate because I wasn't, obviously I don't know, but allegedly he did not skate much or at all in the offseason. And now he's having battles with his head coach and certain teammates. So would the Flyers be better off at this point in potentially moving on from Michkov before this becomes something they can't handle anymore? So I think it's a story that definitely deserves to be followed and kept track of. Can we talk Flyers on live? Yeah, let's do it, man. I'm Ricky. I just went off on about a 10, 20-minute rant about Matt Van Michkov. And the Flyers did 8-5-2. Again, they are what they are. I'm not buying in yet, but they are what they are. All right. That little Flyers segment was brought to you by Master of the Segue. Props, locks, and parlays. No pressure sports betting. And for all the people in the FBI that are listening to this right now, it is for entertainment purposes only. I want to be very clear. I have nothing to do with what's going on in the MLB or NBA right now. We do a sports betting entertainment show. Very, very clear about that. For those from the FBI that might be listening. So make sure you're tuned in. And if you want to investigate, talk to Mike Lara. Don't talk to me. Mike Lara will have you every Tuesday night at 8 for the Locks, Props, and Parlay program here on the It's Around Sports Network. Make sure you're tuned in. You never know when last time you might say it. All right, let's get into our Of the Night segment as we are whipping through. Oh, wait, no. I mean, good God. Before I move off of, geez, you guys got to keep me on task. Let's talk some awards. I forgot to mention the American League Silver Slugger Award that came out over the weekend. We talked, or Friday night. Thursday, we did go over the National League. Let's go over the American League right now. Your Silver Slugger first baseman from the A's, Nick Kurtz, his first award. This kid's going to be something special in this league. He may also be the MVP, or not MVP, Rookie of the Year. Jazz Chisholm gets the second base award from the Yankees. It's his first Silver Slugger. It was Kurtz's obvious first Silver Slugger. From the Guardians, Jose Ramirez is your third baseman. Your shortstop is Bobby Witt. It'd be interesting if Bobby Witt's a Royal next year. I want to see that. Out in the outfield, Aaron Judge wins in one of the outfield positions. It's his fifth Silver Slugger. Byron Buxton for the Twins, he gets his first Silver Slugger. Riley Green of the Tigers is your other outfielder, his first Silver Slugger. And the big dumper, Cal Riley, gets the Silver Slugger for the catcher position. There from the Mariners, your DH was George Springer. From the Blue Jays, his third Silver Slugger. Zach McKinstry from the Tigers was your utility player. His first Silver Slugger. And the American League Team of the Year to join the National League Team of the Year, which was the Dodgers. So your American League Team of the Year in 2025 is the New York Yankees. That's right. They are the 2025 American League Team of the Year, the second time the Yankees have been named Team of the Year since they've been doing this. So there you have it. So now we have completed the Silver Slugger. We've completed Team of the Year. And we've completed the Gold Glove Awards and also the Clemente Award, which went to Mookie Betts this year. Now all systems go for the big time awards that will be coming out this week coming and next week. Actually, this week, the big ones are going to fall. Your Manager of the Year, Rookie of the Year, Cy Young, MVP. All of that will be announced this week, and we'll be here to report it to you as we are getting into the awards season here in MLB. Matt, are you live? I am not, Ricky Deal. So we got Eagles post game tomorrow. So I will not be here. Gonna let you guys enjoy the Eagles game without me. Star Wars coming in from left field telling me the Sixers suck. They do. And you know what? I guess you know what, Star Wars, you're right, man. I should mention the Sixers. Here's the thing about what really incenses me the most about the Sixers. Not the fact that they stink, because I was already prepared for that, but it's this newfound how do I phrase this? I want to make sure I say it right. So Daryl Morey is terrible as a GM, right? And the outrage of what he did last year to this team resonated throughout the fan base, and rightfully so. And obviously, they were even more pissed off when he was brought back. But now, based off of the start or the first 2 or 3 games of the year, or I shouldn't even say that, based off the beginning of the season of running it back again, essentially, adding in a few young players, I've heard this extremely nauseating narrative that it's okay, I'm just here to enjoy the Sixers game by game, that I have no expectation. Now, I'm not saying I have. I'm just saying this is what I've heard from some of the from some sides of the fan base. We don't have any expectations. We're just enjoying this thing day by day. That's got to be the most loserist homer mentality I've ever heard in my life. What are you talking about? You don't have expectations for the Sixers. When did that start? What, we flipped the page? You didn't change the players, but now you flipped the script of not having any expectations about this team? What are you talking about? I mean, listen, a lot of times in this town, and again, I'm born and raised in Philadelphia. I'm proud to be where I'm from, and I'm proud to call myself a Philly sports fan. But what I'll never be, and what I'll never do, is make excuses for the inability of my teams to win. And for those of you that know me, already know this about me, I'll never make excuses for when they're not winning. They're not winning because they're not good enough. Bottom line, not these other external factors and all that. No, I'm not going to snow job you with that crap. But to sit here and tell me that it's the same team with the inflated contracts of Joel Embiid and Paul George, you know, it's the same process, so to speak, that existed a year ago when you had championship expectations. But now, because you're stuck with Embiid and George another year, and they weren't moved off this team because you added BJ Edgecombe, now your expectations are game to game, day by day. What in the hell are you talking about? How can you change the expectations of a team that's the same team from last year minus one player? I don't get that loser mentality. That's, again, an example of the fan base trying to make excuses for why the team stinks and why they're once again not going to fulfill what we were, the expectations we had for them. So that's what's preventing me from jumping on board this crappy loser mentality. Well, I don't care. They're an exciting young team. What are you talking about? It's the same team. And how can you have championship expectations a year ago and every year before that over the last 10 years or so, and then with the same team in play say this year, you know what? We'll just take it game by game. That infuriates me. That's what separates me from the homers, okay? That, in an essence, if anybody ever asked me what I describe a homer as, I'll probably use that analogy. Because how can you sit there with a straight face and tell me that you're going game by game because they're young and exciting when it's the friggin' same team minus BJ Edgecombe? That's making excuses so you can go to sleep at night. And that's what infuriates me about this new style fan base. It's not the fan base I was raised in. It's this new style. So I just want to get that off my chest, man. Ricky, we can talk about whatever you want, man. I just talked about MattyB and Mishkov. Whatever you want to talk about, bring it up. Let's go. Let's go. But all right, so let's go as Ricky formulates his Flyers question for me. the show must go on. So let's get into our of the night segment, and let's roll it now. All right. Yes, it is indeed time for the of the night segment. And as Ricky figures out what he wants to ask me about the Flyers, thank God we're talking Flyer prospects. That's right. So I don't have to pivot too far off the hockey question. So, of course, as the little pretty show graphic says in the little intro, I'm an intro fiend. We take this time of the show and we talk about Sixers. Jesus Christ. Now I'm talking Sixers. Now, we talk a Flyer prospect or a Phillies prospect, spotlight of Phillies player or a Flyers player, talk about MLB or NHL draft target. Essentially, it's a baseball and hockey, futures show, I guess you want to call it. And we are at a point of the season or of the year in November as where we're pretty much locked into the Flyers prospects. Too early to start spotlighting Phillies players for 2026. Too early to be breaking down NHL draft, but not. I'm compiling my data. Let's let you know that I've already started that. Too early to break down the MLB draft, which again I'm compiling data, but I got to really throttle back on that because this preseason stuff, based on what they did last year, blows up in my face every year. But there's so many players that I got to start sooner than later. So I'm compiling MLB, I'm compiling NHL. It's and obviously we've already spotlighted the Flyers players for this current season. So that leaves the Flyers prospects and Phillies prospects. We won't start that till April. So let's go. Let's continue on with our Flyers prospects tonight. We're back into the prospect world, an actual prospect. Yes. He is a prospect with an interesting path, and we'll get into that. So tonight's Flyer prospect. I don't even have his graphic loaded up yet, man. Look at me. Matter of fact, let me put that on while I'm doing it. I don't even have the card on here yet. Jeez. Man, I'm over an hour into the show and I'm still loading graphics. Man, where they find help. So tonight's Flyer prospect, without further ado, is 2024 seventh round draft pick Austin Moline, the right-handed defenseman from the Madison Capitals of the United States Hockey League. The 6'5", 201-pound monster of a man. Monster. 205 is 6'5" is big. 201 for 6'5" is not. Skinny kid. Moline's range and 6'5" frame is a real asset. Obviously, he probes with his stick to make up space, reaching into puck carriers' wheelhouses more than actually guiding them to the outside. And why would you not at 6'5"? Well, of course, every time I hear about a big, long, tall, lanky defenseman, Shel Samuelson always jumps into my head. But obviously, this is not 1985. I imagine this kid's got a little bit more athletic ability, which he does. But at 6'5", the big thing about him is his ability to stay on the NHL ice. 201 pounds at 6'5". It's a little light. I ain't gonna lie. He probably needs to put on about 15 to 20 more pounds in order to be sort of a force. But but he has one characteristic here as a defenseman that we all covet, and that's the right-handed shot. I've said this, and essentially this is why Jamie Drysdale's still here, is he's a right-handed defenseman with upside potential offensive ability. Now, this kid is not. He doesn't really have much offensive ability, and to be honest with you, at 7th round pick 2024, I don't know. You're looking maybe, he projects to go to Lehigh. Does he actually project to see the ice as a Flyer? I'm sure he's going to have to up his game at some point in order to do that, but definitely has the tools that you want for a defenseman. Big, tall, and a right-hander. So, he was good enough to be drafted in the 7th round. There's a reason why he was drafted in the 7th round. But he currently plays for the, as I mentioned, the Madison Capitals of the USHL. Now, from our past programs, you guys remember what the USHL is, right? It's the highest major junior hockey in the United States. The CHL, which is the highest form of junior hockey in Canada, which is the mother of them all, right? That's the big one. That's the one you go to if you want to. I mean, there's a whole subculture up there that is so into CHL hockey, from the OHL, WHL, the QJ, MHL, it's a whole thing up there. But down here in America, the USHL sort of serves that purpose. We don't really look at major junior hockey in the same way Canada does. We don't. The USHL is for amateurs. You don't get paid in that league. You actually pay your own way. And what it really exists for is for players who still want to go to college, but want to get scouted against higher level competition, higher than high school level competition. And typically it's made up of 16-year-olds through 18-year-olds. Now you can play in that league through to your 21, I believe, or 20 or 21. But it is really a prep league, a high-level prep league for players that are destined to go to college. And that's the reason why they play, is because they want to go to college. They want to play in the NCAA. Now, Austin Moline starting his second year at 20 years old. He's 20, which is odd to me because he doesn't project. He has not signed anywhere to go to college next year. And he's a little old, if you ask me, even to consider going to the NCAA at this point. So it's an interesting career progression. And if I had an opportunity to talk to, was it Brent Flair? He's sort of the assistant GM down there. I would actually want to know what is going on with Austin Moline. What are you doing with him? Why is he back in the USHL for a second year? How much more, do you need to see of him from that level at 20 years old before you say, hey, either you got to go to the ECHL, and he's signed currently. Flyers have signed him. Do you send him to the ECHL and play him in Reading? Or do you send him, I don't know, you try to get him drafted into the Canadian Hockey League, which he's running out of time up there too, because you can't play there past 22. So an interesting career path for Austin Moline right now as he's entering his second year with the Madison Capitals. Through 14 games this season, he's got a goal, 7 assists for 8 points, 38 penalty minutes, and he's a +8, a gaudy +8, which is a very good number. But again, he's playing in a league dominated by 16 through 18-year-olds, and he's 20. So I would love to ask that question. That's the kind of question I would ask Danny Barrera. Yeah, I'd waste my question on a question about Austin Moline. Actually, he's not signed yet. So he is unsigned currently by the Flyers. I thought I saw him sign, but I think they're running out of time with him, and I think they got to sign him this spring too. So interesting there with him. But at 6'5", right-handed shot, defenseman, who knows? But not looking all that promising that he'll ever don the orange and black. But there you have it. Tonight's prospect of the night, Austin Moline. Let's go Flyers, win more games. Is that your question, Ricky? Let's win more games. Of course, let's win more games. We losing to Green Bay tomorrow. Man, Star Wars, I don't know what happened to Star Wars, man. There was a time in Star Wars' life where he was the most positive person that I ever spoke to on the show. When he comes on the summer for the Fightins final, man, he is all over the positivity. All over it. I hope I'm not rubbing off on you negatively, Star Wars. I hope not. Speaking of the Fightins final, we have some news. I don't know if I brought it up the other night on the Clear the Ice, but the long-awaited 2025 Phillies season in review show of the Fightins final has been scheduled. We will be on the air at high noon on Thanksgiving Day, Thursday. I had to look at the calendar. November 27th at noon. The Fightins final 2025 season in review show will debut. Now, a little bit of a PSA or a programming note. It will not be live, so I just want to put that out there. It'll be pre-recorded, probably a few days earlier, and but we will air it at noon on Thursday, November 27th, as me, Mike, and Al will break down what was the Phillies in 2025. We'll look at everything one last time. We'll torture ourselves one last time. And we'll also have a special down on the Phillies farm of the year report. I will present to you my players of the year in every level of Phillies minor league baseball this year. So one final shot at the down on the Phillies farm report in 2025 as well. I don't think I did that last year. I don't think I did. But this year I put something together and we'll profile the players and the pitchers of the year at every level of Phillies minor league baseball to kind of put a bow on the down on the farm report. So we're looking forward to that show. Remember, Thursday, November 27th at high noon. That's right, high noon. We'll be out in order to do this show. Get your Thanksgiving Day started off right. So make sure you join us for that program. Cannot wait. We need to have a Flyers meeting on live. Me and you, Ricky? We have a Flyers meeting, me and Ricky deal. Whatever you want, Ricky. I'm game. All right, let's get to the final segment of the night. My favorite segment. Yep. It is the card review segment. Best part of waking up every day for me is I get the opportunity to do a card segment on this program. We will take a look at one of my many sports cards in my collection and break it down, have some fun with it, and enjoy ourselves as we typically do during this segment. Baseball is the flavor, but it is not the only thing. I have multiple cards from multiple sports, lots of them, and we'll have some fun with everything. But typically, it's baseball. I ain't gonna lie. It's typically baseball. And tonight, we're coming off of the digital era. We're going way back to my childhood, the wax pack, and I mean, we're going back. We're going back into my childhood when sports card collecting was something that was just becoming new to me at the age of 9 years old. My very first pack of baseball cards was purchased from a little corner store on the sort of like, if you go up my block, you cut down the hill, go down the alley, go back up the other side of the hill, walk, make a right, go up to the corner of the next street, make a left, walk about a half a block, and then on your left-hand side, there was this little corner store that was my my sports store go-to for my entire childhood, as well as hoagies, man. They made a killer hoagie for like $4. God, man, I miss some days. But cool place, man. Miss those times, miss everything about that. But this is where I would go buy cards pretty much my entire childhood. And I'm not sitting here telling you that I remember purchasing this card from the store, but I do remember this era. I remember this set. I remember everything about it. And it is the 1982 Topps. We're going way back into the wax pack era. And a card favorite of mine. I remember this card being a favorite of mine from that set. And we're going to bring it up right now. And that is the 82 Gary Matthews, man. The Sarge. Now, that's not an auto. That is his autograph. But that's the card design of 82. Came out with the auto, much like what Topps did in 80 when they had the auto cards. Again, it's not live ink. It is the player's signature, but it's part of the card, right? It's different than getting an autograph. But that was what the 82 set was in Topps, just like the 80 set was. And this is Gary Matthews' team card from 82. And everything about this card, to me, screams my childhood, man. If you can look there in the background, and I'll give you extra bonus money here. If you can identify who the player is standing there and who the player standing there is. So there's 2 bonus questions about your ability to be a sports card person. In the background of this card, we need to have more Flyers. Ricky, I'll talk about them when they become pertinent. I give them a segment a show. But if you can identify the two players in the background of this baseball card, you will earn my everlasting trust and confidence and love. Because when I look at cards like this, typically, and a lot of these cards from especially the era that has passed, the wax era, a lot of the cards have a lot of background people in them. If you ever take a look, if you go back through the years, you'll see a lot of these cards are like this. Not only are they featuring the player, of course, that they're featured, but there's some people in the background. And yeah, to me, it's always a fun game to try to identify who they are. And of course, in the Robin Egg old school Philly road uniforms of the early 80s. And during the heyday, I mean, this was, 2 years or 1 year essentially removed from the 80 World Series championship team. This is the 82 set. So this was pulled from 81 stuff. And the Phillies were still a hot commodity in baseball. And of course, they would make a run, not in 82. This was also the strike year, I believe, 82. But they'd make a run in 83 back to the World Series with the Wheeze kids. And Gary Matthews was part of that run. And he was really, I think, a forgotten figure in the early dominance of the Phillies, of the dominance of the Phillies of the early 80s. Sort of joined the team late in that run. I think I remember the 81, it was his first year here. And really kind of gets lost, I think, a lot of times in the shuffle as one of the more influential Phillies players of that decade. And of course, he came at the end, and that didn't help things. And then when the bones were picked clean, he was one of the last ones standing, and there's really nothing much he could do at that point. But of course, Gary Matthews went on to become a Phillies broadcaster for a few seasons, and is synonymous as, again, the Sarge, man. Just a really cool personality, and a great player. He was a hustler, man. He worked his ass off out there. So this was always one of my favorite baseball cards. And for those, and I don't see any responses to my challenge question, so I'll reveal the answers to you now. On deck for the Phillies in this picture, it's Manny Trio. You can see him standing there. And then in the dugout, man, how can you not get who that is, man? That's Dallas Green. It's the manager. Dallas friggin' Green. Come on, guys, you're killing me here. But so technically a 3-in-1 baseball card. Gary Matthews, Manny Trio, and Dallas Green, all pictured in the 82 tops, Gary Matthews. And, a no-frills, as you can see by the borders here, 82 was actually one of the first years they started experimenting a little bit with tops, with external designs. And, this border that they feature on this card is actually very similar, or somewhat similar. I wouldn't say very, but somewhat similar to the border that's featured on the 2025 top set. All the series 1 through whatever we're on right now. So pretty cool card. Reminds me a lot of my childhood. It's synonymous with my childhood as I started getting into sports card collecting. Now you're not going to corner the world with this card. Anywhere between, I think, $2 and like $6. I've seen it, but it's a must for any old school Phillies fan, especially of a kid from my generation. So I like it. And there you have it. The 1982 Gary Matthews tops. And here it is in its physical form. I got a very clean copy of it, but my card here on this corner here, right somewhere in this area here, it's got a little bit of a peel back going on. So I could probably drive this card out the door for about $3. Yeah, I think somebody would take it off my hands for $3, but I don't know if I'd sell it. And there you go. There's the Gary Matthews 82 tops, and there's the back. So there you have it. Our card of the night, the 82 Gary Matthews tops. There you have it. All right. Well, listen, that is going to take me to the end of a very long show tonight, man. Well, when you step away for a few nights, it takes a while to get back into the flavor. A lot of stuff covered tonight. I thought we covered good ground, made some progress. Matt, is the Flyers lineup out on Facebook? It is, and Ricky, thank you for reminding me. I have not shown it on this, but it is out on Facebook. Here is your Fighting's final lineup for the week. Wait, no, that's not that. That's last week. What am I see? I'm not even ready for this, man. It's last week. Good God. Sorry about that, folks. Let me get you the right one here. Do I have the right one? Do I have it available? I do. Hang on. Let me get it. I got it. Stand by. No, maybe I don't have it. It's out. I've seen it. It's on Facebook. Man. You know what? Let's look at it this way. Where is there it is. Look at that. I knew I had it. Here is your fights or your clear the ice schedule for the week. Mike Lara will have you on Wednesday for the Edmonton Oilers. I will be there on Friday for the Blues, and I'll be back on Saturday. I'm going back to back for the Stars. So there you go. There's our clear the ice lineup for the week. And here's the rest of the lineup for the week for the network, starting tomorrow with the Eagles-Packers postgame. That's all the shows that are going to be on the air tomorrow. I will not be back. I'll let you guys enjoy the game. And then on Tuesday, I'll be back on Tuesday along with the Happy Valley Huddle on its special 10 a.m. Veterans Day appearance, as Mike Lara will break down a very entertaining Penn State Indiana game. So make sure you're there for that. Wednesday there's a schedule for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and all the way up till next Sunday when we'll finish up our week. As you can see, I will not be back on the air next Sunday as we got Eagles Lions post game. So you got to get me while you can. I'm not gonna have the opportunity to do 5-day shows this week or even next. So there you have the schedule. There you have everything. It's been a pleasure. I will see you guys again on, as I said, Tuesday, and we'll be back for the final word then, and we'll have some more fun next Tuesday or this Tuesday. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I hope you had a great weekend. I hope you you can, Ricky, but I need to do better. I need to put it up there. But thank you. Yes, please do. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday night. Enjoy your day of work tomorrow. Most of you will have off Tuesday for Veterans Day. Until we talk again on Tuesday, it's the next time I'll see you. You guys take care. Go Birds. And don't bet on sports. Or I should say don't bet on sports. Don't point shave. You guys have a good night.